it's okay.
Okay, I think we're in. Hello everyone, RLS 331 student, leisure education. This is a podcast video, the first video with Dr. Haidong Liang. Yes, Dr. Liang is has a PhD from our faculty of, well, then it was called a physical education and recreation, right, Haidong?
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I would ask his professional career and journey, everything else today, and I hope you're excited about that too. Haidong, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for providing me with this opportunity to connect with our students in the faculty.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know you're very, very busy, everything else, professionally and the COVID and everything going on. So we really appreciate your time. So I just wanted to get to it, and we wanted to know more about your background. So my first question, the question that I prepared personally was, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe just a little bit of starting with the personal side, but also professional side too. But what's your position, your education background? Obviously you got a degree from us too, and where you're from, maybe a bit of something personal, your leisure.
Okay. All right, so hi everybody, my name is Haidong Liang, and currently I'm the Executive Director at the Westend Seniors Activity Center in Edmonton, Alberta. So our center is one of the biggest senior center across Alberta. So I would talk about that a little bit later when we talked about work. So as for myself, I'm from China. I came to Canada in 2002. So I did all my 3 degrees in the Faculty of Kinesiology, Sports Recreation, focusing on leisure recreation, sports, and gerontology. So I did my bachelor and master at the University of Manitoba. Then I had the opportunity to come to University of Alberta to finish my PhD. So that's kind of my education background. And yeah, I've been working in the leisure field for the past 9 years. And I was in almost every single position: recreation management, project management, facility management, everything related to leisure, recreation. And now I'm the ED, Executive Director of the organization. So for myself, I guess my biggest leisure is to work out. I think that's probably the, for me, that's something that I could do anytime I want, and I have the control, and it kind of helped me really get focused. I think our professor, Dr. Gordon Walker, like you, Shin, and my supervisor, the past supervisor who retired, always talking about a concept is like really you put yourself into that activity and you're so focused and you forget about the time, right? There is a term in Japan and there is a term in China. I don't know if Shin, you talked about that or not, but like I guess you and I both understand what that is, and maybe you could explain to your students later. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, so as you know, actually, my students, so Haidong and I, we're in a way like an academic brother. We share the same supervisor. Haidong went through the process earlier than me, and obviously he's very successful in his field. And I still remember my friend, shared friend, he introduced me to Haidong, saying that Haidong is one of the few persons who finished a PhD with a 6-pack, like really, really staying fit and healthy and strong, which is probably, I've never seen anybody else who did that. So kudos to you too.
Well, I guess our faculty probably should promote that a little bit more.
True for our own students too, maybe. Sounds good. Okay, so we got, we know you a little bit about yourself, and that's pretty great. And my second question is, digging into your career, professional career and job. So can you tell us a little bit about your current and past position, which you already talked about, and a little bit of everything. related to leisure and recreation. How does your day-to-day work look like? You know, what's your typical day?
Well, so I will kind of start with a little bit of history. So I
Yes.
was collecting data for my dissertation because, like I said to you before, I was studying gerontology. I guess again, I was probably one of the very few PhD students who were studying gerontology. So I was collecting data from both China and Edmonton. So I got hold of this organization. So I decided to collect data here. And the executive director at that time just thought like I got a lot of unique background. So she kind of hired me part-time work here to do the program for them. So I was able to rebuild the entire recreation program department for them. And later when I finished my PhD, I was kind of thinking about what should I do? Should I like go to continue my academic career to do my postdoc, become a professor like you, or should I go to the professional way? But at that time, because I've been, like I say, I did all 3 degrees in a row, so I was a little bit of exhausted at that time. So I said, yeah, I'm gonna change a little bit. So I just decided to work first. And this platform at the center was actually very good. So like I said, I rebuilt the entire recreation program. We tripled the classes and activities in 2 years, and we tripled the membership as well. So currently this organization is offering 100, well, before COVID, we're offering 130 instructional classes and drop-in activities. So a lot of time people will ask us like, so what is senior center? Quite often stereotype is like, is a senior residence home, but we told people, no, we don't have people living here. It's more like a rec center, but we're different from rec center. So I keep telling people, I said, how can I explain it easier? So at that time, our MLA, Dr. Sherman, told, I really like his quote, his comment about this organization. He called the center as a seniors high school. So we're kind of like a university, kind of like a high school. We're offering so many classes, and students, basically like your students, are doing the same. You have to register for classes, you pay the tuition fee, that kind of stuff. Well, of course, I would say one of the main differences is like your students will have to pass your class to get the credit. So here they don't need, there's no tests here, there's no exams here, right? And of course, we also offer a lot of services like outreach services, social service, referral services. So we're more like a community hub. And we consider us as one of the best senior center across Alberta. Just it's evidence-based, and people enjoy our activities, enjoy the variety, the diversity, enjoy the inclusiveness of our organization. So my day-to-day work is, in the past, of course, like I mentioned before, I was the multicultural outreach coordinator, then later became the program manager, and then the facility and project manager. So I was writing grants, using a lot of skills that I learned from the faculty, getting a lot of money for the organization, expanding the service and the facilities. And currently, because I'm the ED, so yeah, my day-to-day life is like talking with politicians, meeting with different organizations, businesses, working with other sectors, try to really build the awareness of a senior center. And yeah, definitely my time is pretty busy. Like I said to you before this class, my typical work week is kind of like a professor, like about 60 to 70 hours a week. So
right, I know. You know, we're talking about leisure, and then I say I'm a professor in leisure studies, and hey, Shin, what's your work week look like? And I say like, well, maybe 60 to 7 weeks,
but you
7 hours
remember,
of work.
yeah, but you remember what Gordon mentioned to us before?
Yes.
Work is also serious leisure, right? I
Yes.
don't know if you talk about that concept or not in your class. We
Yes,
have
we
that
did.
serious leisure. So
Yes.
yeah, we're doing leisure every day.
Yes. So we have that privilege, that's for sure. Yes. Not a lot of people have that. Okay. Well, it's
Yeah.
very interesting, and then I think it's very. I mean, it's unique. I mean, obviously you are successful and excelling, but also I think your story resonates with many other recreation professional and I mean, many other. Your field is very, in a way, interdisciplinary. The gerontology and everything, but you doing, for example, a little bit of everything as you go up, I think that happens to many people. So I just wanted to ask you a follow-up question on that. Like, how did you do it? Like, from facility to grant writing to everything. That's very different types of job in a way. What
Well,
helped you?
I think it's definitely the training from the faculty.
Mm,
It's not because I'm taking this, I'm kind of like attending your class and then I
yeah.
try to promote recreational leisure. No, that's because when we were when I was doing my recreation degree
Mm,
at the Faculty of Kinesiology Sports Recreation in Manitoba,
mhm.
my bachelor degree was recreation management.
Right.
So recreation management and community development. So
Mm,
really, you have to know almost everything,
mm,
like event planning,
right.
psychology, sociology. You need to know how to communicate. You need to know how to do marketing. You need to know how to do report. So
Right.
leisure education, like the class you're teaching, it's beyond just telling people how to play. A lot of
Right.
times people's misconception is that like, oh yeah, it's just teaching people how to play. No, the reality is no, it's different.
Mhm.
It teaches you a wide variety of skills. So
Mhm.
after you finish the degree, you all of a sudden you realize you actually know a lot of things. You have
Okay.
a lot of skills.
That's very good. I'm again, student, folks. We're not paying Haidong to say good stuff about. So this is a fact. It's very honest feedback, which we definitely appreciate. And also, quickly, sorry, Haidong, how do you define gerontology? Because I think many of the students haven't really heard about it, and I would rather you to define it.
Okay, so speaking of that, so gerontology, so a lot of time is study on aging.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we are talking about. Gerontology. That's the easiest way to say it. And there are
Mm,
differences between geriatrics and gerontology. So
mm,
gerontology is more like social science
mm,
or humanities.
mm.
So geriatrics is more medical,
Okay.
like a nursing perspective.
Right. Practice clinical things,
Yeah,
maybe.
clinical.
Yeah.
So I do have a definition, but like that part I actually didn't really prepare too well. But
No, that's okay.
looked
But
at
that
the
I think helps.
no, I actually just went to the Alberta Association on Gerontology because I'm
There you
the
go.
member there. So they do have a really good definition, which so gerontology is the interdisciplinary study of aging.
Mm,
So it encompasses the biology, a biological, psychological, sociological, health, and economic
mm,
aspects of aging.
mm,
So it's both a basic and applying social science.
mm,
So they according to their definition, they just say gerontologists may have a degree in gerontology, but
mm.
they may also have a specialization in aging within another discipline. So
Right.
really, you could be, for example, health professional, mental health professional, social service professional, marketing communication
Mm,
professional, of course, our recreation, and of course, like a research and educational professionals. Just like it's a pretty complex and complicated field to
right.
study, and it involves different roles and expertise.
Sounds great. Thank you. I think that's very helpful. And maybe some of my students are not necessarily aware of it. And, they know that we work with the older adults, but they may not necessarily the gerontology, the field, and that professional and academic perspective to it. So I think that's very helpful for them too.
I think they know the professor at the faculty, Joanna.
Mm-hmm.
Joanna is the teacher who is teaching the physical activity and the aging adult.
Mm-hmm.
So I was teaching that class before as well. So we have been partnering with the faculty, our faculty, especially that class, for the past 8 years.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's been going well. And this term, because of COVID, I think we have to do it digitally. So in fact, it accommodated even more students to connect with our members. So I think right now the number it's around like 35 students with 57 seniors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a very good ratio. I mean, it's almost 1 to 2. Nice.
Well, usually in the past it's one-on-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. But this time, because of COVID, we have to do it online, virtually. Yeah.
Right. So if some of my students interested in that, they can take that course as well.
Yeah.
And so next question, and maybe we can take a quick break, is that it's digging into our main topic for my students is leisure education. And I'm going to just read off, slowly how we, learn, define it. And you don't have to follow it. You can critique it too. Hey, Shane, that's not how we do. But how that concept potentially could relate to your field and professionals like yourself who are working in your field and working with maybe older adults specifically in the city center. So how we define leisure education is this: leisure education is a cycle education. So knowledge transferring, awareness changing, and also behavior modification aimed at increasing awareness of leisure opportunities as well as constraints, and also developing knowledge, skills, attitudes, and other resources conducive to quality leisure experience and improved well-being. It is not just about providing leisure activities and services, but also it educates why leisure is important and how quality leisure experience can be achieved in a systematic manner, maybe based on evidence, maybe based on a theory as well. So that's how we define it. That's how we reading about it. That's how we are discussing about it. But I wanted to get your sort of definitely very applied, hands-on experiences and perspective onto that.
Well, I mean, from as I mentioned at the beginning, so of course I got all my 3 degrees in this area, like leisure, physical activity, sports, recreation, and gerontology. So I guess I'm a firm believer of leisure, and I'm also the advocate for the leisure education. So I totally agree with the definition, but also I just think like we still need to do more work to really promote the importance of leisure, because again, like I mentioned before, I was gaining a lot of skills from all 3 degrees and apply them in my daily work. I just believe leisure is so important, especially leisure's preventative benefits. When I'm working with health professionals like Alberta Health Services, one of the key themes that we're talking about is prevention, because every year about 46% of Alberta budget goes to Alberta Health Services. So you can imagine like so much money went into the cure perspective. If I can, a lot of time we're just joking, if we could even get 1% of that 46% of our annual budget, provincial annual budget, we're talking about billions of dollars, right? We could definitely already build a huge recreation, leisure, preventative network and program to reduce the health cost significantly. It's just something that it's evidence-based. A lot of researchers already did a study on that. There was a study in 2013, I believe. They're talking about every year it will save a 55 years old person $8,000 a year in healthcare, and it will save a 65 or 75 years old person like up to 13,000 a year in healthcare cost. You can imagine, like, because right now in entire Alberta, last year's data was 615,000 people are seniors. And just within a year, that number, like the year before, 2018, that number was only 565. So the next year was already 615,000. And every day, 8 people in this province turning 65. And we haven't even talked about people who are 55 plus. That's usually how we define older adult.
Right.
And you could imagine, I mean, just like how important it is, like for people to understand the benefit of leisure. And that's why this organization is so successful, because we are looking for we're hiring the best instructors across Alberta. We're paying the most competitive rate. So we're not like a lot of senior centers do say, oh, we'll rely on volunteers. No, we're running this organization like a business. We believe that seniors deserve the best service, deserve the best instructors. And that's also why this center is offering a lot of practicum experience and training, the job shadowing opportunities to your student, to the students, the faculty. And we just want to train the younger professional to really understand gerontology. Aging is another field that they could invest, but we could talk about that later. But just talk about the leisure education. I mean, for myself, I can't emphasize enough. It's just guiding my day-to-day work. Yeah, and that's my job, to promote and advocate the benefit. I think a lot of people know, they just, oh yeah, I know important, but they say, why do I need you to teach me? No, sometimes you actually need a bit of education.
Yes, I agree with that. That's something that I face myself too, that when I call myself, I do research about leisure behavior, leisure and well-being and the benefits of it. And people go like, yeah, that's important. Yeah, it's great. Fun. Nice. No. We take leisure sometimes for granted too much, because it's embedded into, it's so foundational to our life. And there are not many of people actually think systematically, actually think critically, things like that. So that I definitely agree with you. So I wanted to just a little bit of probe into that advocacy part, and then toward the end you mentioned some sort of a challenge, right? It's not that there are people who are resistant to the idea that leisure is important, but maybe they're not deep enough. They're not at the level where we are, Haidong and I and many other students, right? They're not thinking really, well, yeah, leisure is really important. We have to invest in it. We have to spend a lot of time on it, that level. So when you meet those people, when you go for networking, advocacy, talking to politicians or whatever that might be, and you feel like, I don't think this person really understands. How do you go about it? What's your, interaction look like?
Well, I mean, when you're talking to professionals, I mean, a lot of the time, what I believe, like the reason why I say I have to work out, I have to show the people why it's important to take part in leisure activities. And also depends on how you define leisure, right? So a lot of time people try to separate physical activity and leisure. So they say, well, I understand physical activity, but I'm not talking about leisure. However, I think leisure, we don't have I would say we do have a definition for what leisure is, but I think the leisure itself needs to be broader. And I think that's what our field is trying to educate people about. So what is leisure? And for our organization, we're not saying, okay, you come here to participate in physical activity or yoga classes. We don't say you're gonna come here to get training. You're not here to really compete. You're here to improve yourself. And then we're doing it in a leisure pace. So it's you're doing it in your own pace. You have to enjoy it, right? Like you can't just like come and do the exercise and then you hurt yourself, you don't like it. So a lot of time, I think that's how I communicate with people is like, what is leisure? So leisure should be broader. And I think a lot of time I try to redirect people from the physical perspective, because a lot of time people say, oh, recreation center, activity center, so you guys just doing yoga and resistance training or cardio training. No, we say we're doing leisure activity there, recreation program there. So a lot of time I try to redirect them to the social perspective, to the connection, because for a lot of seniors, really they are not going to let's say lose 50 pounds. That is almost not the goal for majority of our members.
Right.
Their goal is to come here to actually meet with their peers, to actually form a social group. So I think that's the biggest benefit of leisure, is reconnecting people through, like, so building that social network through different means. It could be physical activity, it could be through art, it could be through events. So it's the social, and it could through the food. Like, that's the part a lot of time we don't even talk about it. So leisure actually is food. Sometimes that's how we call it, right? Like when you go to a nice restaurant enjoying the dinner, that is leisure. You have the same type of satisfaction. You have same kind of feeling. So that's really how I communicate with my colleagues. However, for the health professionals, it's not like they don't understand. They understand, but because of the system, like they say, oh yeah, for example, I belong to Alberta Health Services, so we have our rules and we have our regulations. We can only do this and do that. So there are a lot of work to do, but that's what the field is trying to do right now, is that how can we build that partnership with other sectors? But that's another story. So
yeah, well, I appreciate that, you know, you're sharing observations and stuff like that, and especially I echo your point about the difference between leisure and a physical activity. And sometimes physical activity is obviously important, but also sometimes just focusing on that is a bit limiting and just a one, you know, just a one aspect. And I think that's what I try to do in my faculty too, because some of the students are interested in kinesiology, sports. But then we unpack that, you know, open up the whole can of this recreation leisure, and it's, oh, there's a food, there's maybe a nap, there's some arts, there's some culture activity, there's so many things. And I think that's really enriches our life, and that's the really important things, that's what we are, you know, leisure professional. It's fantastic.
No, I couldn't agree more, because even kinesiology, a lot of time people say, oh, that's a very specialized area. But really, you think about it, it's also an interdisciplinary subject. If you try to build your body like through workout, you need to learn how to eat properly. You need to learn a lot of other science, like how to relax yourself, right? And you need to learn how to look after yourself. So it's not just simply, oh, I just know how to lift dumbbells, or I just need to know the body, the physical aspect of human movement. No, there are a lot of science behind that. And in the end, you're still dealing with people, and your clients may change. So you might be working with elite athlete like McDavid, but really, I mean, even for him, he still needs the social aspect, the psychological aspect, and the leisure component. A lot of time, I think, is being neglected in the in the kinesiology part.
Yeah, I agree. And then your description really talks about, really gives us examples about applied example of what the concept that we're talking about, like freedom, control, maybe the enjoyment, intrinsic motivation, social aspect we talked about. And I think, you know, I think that really nicely goes back to the quote that you used, that your, you know, center is like a high school for seniors, and that camaraderie, right? That the peers, that the friends that you're meeting. And I think there is a difference between you just meet with other people and just knowing and talking to them versus sharing some activity, meaningful, enjoyable activity, leisure and recreation, while you're connecting to other peers, and there's that difference.
Well, team sports, right? Like even like the bear and the golden bear, the panda team, like that's kinesiology, more kinesiology sports than recreation and leisure, right? But still, I mean, the team atmosphere, the team spirit, that's the social aspect. And the enjoyment is bringing you back. Is like when the athlete retired, they think back, they say, wow, I was working with a group of peers and that was so enjoyable, right? So I just think the kinesiology, the leader aspect, usually, like you said, we are taking it for granted.
Right. Okay. Well, I think, we can stop recording a little bit here, and we're going to move on to the second video, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to stop it now.
Yeah.